trade deadline targets. There's a lot of talk around the league, specifically about a couple defensive ends that we might get. I realistically, if the Lions decide to make a move, that's the move they're going to make at defensive end, because with Aiden Hutchinson being down, I've heard 3 different names kind of getting tossed around. I've heard Myles Garrett, I've heard Max Crosby, and I've heard Zadarius Smith. Here's my take on all 3, and this is going to tie into one of our topics. Will Max Crosby end up with the Raiders by the end of the season? So first, I want to break down Myles Garrett. I looked up during the day today. So the Lions have $27 million in cap space. Myles Garrett's contract, his cap hit, would be about $20 million. That's pretty friendly for a win-now team. And the matter of the fact is, if you have a team like the Detroit Lions have right now, you are going out and getting a superstar. You're not going to sit behind. And I understand that there's this mentality that Brad Holmes doesn't have the balls to actually go do it. But I genuinely think there is a very, very good chance we are going to get one of these 3 players by the end of the season. Or, by the trade deadline. Specifically, I think the most realistic option potentially is Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith is a phenomenal. I mean, not phenomenal, but he's a good defensive end. Hold on, let me look up his stats. Zadarius Smith. Why didn't his stats? There he goes. All right. So just this season, he has 4 sacks, 6 assisted tackles, and 8 total tackles this season. So this is a guy that does what he needs when he is needed. So that wouldn't be a terrible option. I think the most unrealistic option for the Lions right now is to go get Max Crosby. And yes, everybody wants to talk about Max Crosby. Max Crosby, come home. Max Crosby, come back to Michigan. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to go one of 2 routes. Myles Garrett, who reports are saying that the Lions have been in constant talks with the Cleveland Browns about getting Myles Garrett. So if we get Myles Garrett, I might have to streak down my neighborhood. Like, genuinely, I might have to become the Michelin Man or like the Stay Puft guy from Ghostbusters and blow up. Not in a bad way, but just genuinely, I think there is a solid chance we are going to get Zadarius Smith or Myles Garrett. We can assume that the trade package for Myles Garrett is going to be a lot more than the trade package for Zadarius Smith, because Zadarius Smith isn't as generational of a talent as Myles Garrett is. I would love to have Myles Garrett. I'm going to look up his trade odds actually real quick. And I would love to have Myles Garrett. Don't get me wrong. But, there is also a very good chance nothing might happen. And I would be a little annoyed with that. But, Cleveland specifically is a rebuilding team at this point. They're not going to win anything. They've been having the pieces set for them for years. And unless they go out and find a new quarterback besides Deshaun Watson, I don't personally think there's anything going forward towards them. It's unfortunate, but Deshaun Watson has really held this Browns team back financially, and specifically, like, no one wants to go to Cleveland because of him. Hold on. I'm trying to read the Bears. What? Hold on. The Athletic says that the Bears. Here's a mock trade. Let's say the Bears acquired defensive end Myles Garrett, sending the Browns 2 first-round picks, 2025 and 2026, and rookie defensive end Austin Booker. Chicago has long needed help on its defensive line, missing on defensive end Matthew Judon this offseason. Though in hindsight, Last year's trade for Montez Sweat was a very savvy move by Ryan Poles. There's no help better than Garrett on a one-man wrecking crew. I think that's very possible as well, for him to go to the Bears, but that I wouldn't like that personally. Max Crosby to the Eagles is a weird. That's not something I don't think personally. I don't think Max Crosby is going anywhere. I think he's going to remain a Raider for the rest of his career, unless he is by free agency signing somewhere else.